I'm the founder of a company called Breezeway. Thanks for spending some time with me here this afternoon. And we're going to do things a little bit different than some of the other presentations. I'll tell you a little bit about my background in a second, but I think what we're going to do is spend a lot of time talking about a couple of high-level concepts and how they relate to your business. I think in our day-to-day, I'm a business operator. In our day-to-day jobs, we don't get a lot of time to take a step back and look at the bigger picture and get away from all the noise, think about some of the big trends that are happening. And I think that's what part of these events are for, is to sort of get you out of that zone of day-to-day sort of niche thinking, excuse me, and think a little bigger. So I called this one halftime adjustments. I'm not an Alabama fan. I know that's controversial, and it means half the room is a fan and the other half doesn't like it. But you know, the college championship, I am a sports fan. And the college championship, anybody watch the college championship game this year? Anybody? I mean, you know, Nick Saban made the biggest halftime adjustment maybe in any football game ever. He never switched his quarterback at halftime in any game. Takes out front runner for the Heisman Trophy and puts in a true freshman because he's losing 13-0 to Georgia. And comes back and wins the game. You don't have to be an Alabama fan to appreciate that is a remarkable story. And just an incredible thing to do. And I call this halftime adjustments because I think you look at the front cover of VRMintel this month, and there's a quote from Simon at Focusrite, and it says, "The game's not over." And I think that's exactly right. I think this is an industry that's been going through tremendous change and maturity, but the game is really far from over. I don't know if we're at halftime. You know, the metaphor only can be stretched so far, but you know, we're somewhere and it's still going. And so what I want to talk to you about today is a couple of ideas about where I think this is going to happen in the future. So let me tell you a little bit about, this is the agenda, this is what we're going to talk about. I'll tell you a little bit about me. I started a company called FlipKey in 2006. We sold that company to TripAdvisor. We pissed off Steve Milo. And that's okay. I forgot this is being recorded. Which is dangerous for me because I sort of just talk off the cuff, but that's all right. So we started that company because we thought that, because I went to a VRMA event in Norfolk, Virginia, and George Volsky did a huge presentation. This is a long time ago. And George Volsky did a big presentation about how everyone was in a brand argument with rent-by-owners. And no one was appreciating the work that went into professionally managed properties. So I left. I'd actually driven from Boston, where I lived, down to Norfolk, Virginia. And so I had a long ride home to digest all the information that I learned, first VRMA. And I thought, wow, this is incredible. And I looked at a couple of people's websites, and there were testimonials and quotes on the website. I thought, wow, that's interesting. And I looked at TripAdvisor, and there were no reviews about vacation rentals. And I thought, wow, okay. Reviews are going to be probably a pretty big deal to try and help guests feel more comfortable about where they're going to book their rentals. And we were the first people to do that. There's a lot of noise going on with other marketplaces at the time. And we sort of predicted that would be a big deal, and that marketplaces like FlipKey, like Airbnb, like VRBO, and HomeAway were going to be an even bigger deal going up. And so that's why we started that company. I left for a while. I left in 2013. So you can't blame me for all the bad stuff that happened afterwards. I guess I am the only person in the room that's met Dermot Helton. He's actually a nice guy. He just doesn't, you know, show up at these events. But I left and then I came back because, well, first I forgot about this one. Yeah, this is what it looks like back in Boston. So I'm happy to be here. Although I'm a big Patriots fan, so that was a little rough last night. Everybody else is happy, I know, it's okay. But I came back to this industry because I really enjoy it, and I love the people, and we built up, while I was at FlipKey, we built up relationships with 4,000 managers all around the world, hundreds of thousands of rentals, and we were a big part of their business, and we considered ourselves a partner to their business. And when I left, I missed a little bit about that, but I also, not surprisingly, I'm an entrepreneur, so I keep my eye on the future and what I think are good ideas. And I think this industry is at a point where there's going to be another big change. It's been changing for years, and you should all deserve a round of applause because you've actually been really tech forward, I think, throughout. But it's still happening, and I think it's going to go through another one at least. And one of them is going to be a bigger emphasis on your operation. So this is sort of my metaphor for the operational side of the business. These are my kids. I guess you can't see the top. There's two sides of every operation. So my metaphor is, these are my kids. This is like the Instagram, this is the polished, nice version of your kids. They're happy at the beach. This is your front office, all your marketing work, your online bookings, your True Place pictures. And because you've been trying to keep up with the OTAs and all the marketing that goes in over the last 10 years, with the changes that have been happening, everybody in this room is so focused on this side of the operations. But there's another side. There's the dirty side. There's the industrious side of the business. There's the back office. And sometimes you got to get your hands dirty in the back office and do the work and do it well to make sure you can still present a good image in the front. And so here's another I guess a lot more sanitized graphic of a vacation rental operation. This could be your typical property management company operation. On your right, that's the guest side of the business. That's the front office. Look at all those tools. You could be using, and probably a lot of people in this room are, using all of those tools on the right side of this graphic for their front office operations. You're leveraging data, you're analyzing it, you're optimizing, you're working really hard on that front office operation. There's a lot of white space on the left for the back office operations. A lot. Last year when I started coming back into this industry and I went to the VRMA, I looked at the agenda. I was the only presentation that had anything to do with back office operations. The entire schedule was about front office operations. And I understand why, right? I'm very familiar, when we grew that marketplace up, I'm very familiar with the dynamics and the pressures on the front office side of the business. But I think it's really remarkable that there's been a little bit of neglect on the back office operations. And the panel that was just up here, if you listen to what Lino said, and I guess maybe if you look at it through my lens a touch, but he talked about how it's the experience, it's the culture, it's the people, it's the product that you can deliver. You can't deliver that. He talked about the cleanings and the maintenance of the units. Very difficult. We're going to spend some time talking about this. I think it's very, very difficult to continue to deliver the product that everybody in this room has to do without using more tools in the back office and smart tools in the back office. It's a really hard job, and we're going to talk about it. So we're going to do this in the context of, just to give you some ideas about what we're going to talk about. I'm going to go through three big ideas. They're all loosely based on Amazon and Jeff Bezos and some of the things that they do. But the takeaways really are these three things right here. So let's spend a moment so it doesn't get lost as I ramble in the middle here. Number one, I think you have a really good opportunity to leverage your special talent. And we're going to talk about what that is. Number two, to stay relevant and stay on top of your business, you have to adjust with external trends. I think this is an industry that's been really good at that in the past. You have to keep doing it. And number three, you have to help foster and create an environment for success. Now, those could be applied to any business, but I think the nature of the business of vacation rental management makes it even more important for you to do that. So, concept number one. This is the concept of stability. And it's tough to read, so I'm going to read it to you. The first part of this quote says, it's Jeff Bezos, and he says, I rarely get asked the second question. I rarely get asked, what is not going to change in the next 10 years? But I submit to you that this question is actually the more important of the two, because you can build a business strategy around what is stable in time. So I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know if Steve Milo's, he probably will. I do know he's going to acquire more companies. I don't know how many. I don't know how big Picasso is going to get. I don't know if Airbnb is going to screw it up and go out of business. But I do know one thing. No matter what happens in the next 10 years, people are going to go on vacation. They're going to want to go on vacation at a beautiful beach like this. Somebody's going to have to make sure that that property is ready when they show up. Somebody's going to have to make sure it's clean. Somebody's going to have to make sure it's well maintained, and that that guest has an excellent experience. And that that homeowner feels like their property and their asset is being well maintained as well. That is not going to change. It's impossible for that to change. That's what this whole business is. And a robot's not going to do it. It's not going to happen. The people in this room are going to do it. You're going to do it over the next 10 years. You're going to continue to do it, and it's the only thing that you can bank on that's not going to change over the next 10 years. Because it's really, and it's really hard to be a great manager. Not only, I was just talking about this in the other room, you have to be, and I think it's great, it isn't, it might not necessarily be complex, but it is complicated. It's a complicated process and operation to be a vacation rental manager. You have to be really good at hospitality. You got to be a marketing company. I don't want, make no mistake, this has happened to me in the past. So I sort of get stuck in this zone about back office operations, and now that I'm on camera, I better be careful. I'm not discounting the front office work that has to go in, or the tools that you need to use on the marketing side. I guess the bad news is you can't avoid doing those things. I'm not saying you can't do that. I'm just saying it's equally important that you got to do the stuff in the back. But that's what makes it so hard to be a great manager. And the properties are unique. Every one of them is different. It's very hard to standardize your business, build a brand, build a consistent guest experience, demonstrate value to your homeowners. When every one of these homes is unique, you don't own them. You don't even have full control over them. Things are happening sometimes that you don't even know are happening in that home because you're not in there and responsible for it the whole time. And when you look at the marketing side, the front office is incredibly competitive. That's why you have to use all those tools. That's why you're in this arms race to keep up. And it's getting worse. Because you're getting squeezed, in my opinion, in the front office operations. On the marketing side, costs are going up. Commissions are not going up. Fees are not going to rise. I love, there's in prior panels that Amy's done, there's a huge difference in opinion among some of these big operators about how they should behave in an environment of lower commissions and sort of a race to the bottom on commissions. I really appreciate Reno's position and holding strong on about lowering your fees. But you know what I think is even better than that? Using systems, using technology, which these guys talked about as well, but using technology so that you don't have to lower your fees, so that you can keep those fees the same. You can deliver the same service, but you can get more credit for it. And that's what we're going to spend a few minutes talking about. Owner optionality is going up. Your owners have more and more option of how they're going to market their properties. I always like going a little later in the day when I get to present because I can listen to what everybody else is talking about. And there's a lot of smart people that were here today. And I can incorporate some of the things they said. Like Steve Milo telling you that you have the power. That's right. You've got the power. There's some limited supply. There's a lot of demand. But that only goes so far. Unless you own all that inventory, who's got the power down below you? The owners do. The owners are the ones that actually own that inventory. They're your customers. If anybody's got the power when there's limited supply, now putting aside there's going to be some economies of scale, you're going to have marketing on your side, you've got some tricks you can pull. But those owners have got a lot of power, and they have more and more options about how they're going to market their property. Brand awareness is going down. We don't need to beat a dead horse on that. Everybody's been talking about it. And there's lots of consolidation in the market. But the owners remain the same. They've got the power because they own the house, but they need you. You have this incredible symbiotic relationship. They can't do it on their own. They need you to be there and help them do it. They need you to service the apartments and the rentals. They need you to be on site. They need your help with the marketing. They need your help to handle the guest and provide a concierge experience. And more, they need more of it. Homeowners are not getting more hands-on with the dirty work of maintaining their property. They're dabbling with marketing the property on their own, but when it comes to the hard industrious side of the work, they do not want to have anything to do with it. They don't want to maintain their property. That's what they want to outsource that 100%. And even more, they want to outsource more and more of it. They want more concierge services. They're hungry for it. And you are sitting on a gold mine because you're perfectly positioned to deliver that service to them. Concept number 2. And then after we go through these concepts, I'm going to tell you a little bit about how I think the best way to apply this is and where the opportunities are. That's the Amazon slide. A logistics company that delivers smiles to consumers. Because of what Amazon's done, there's something called the Amazon effect, which is the fact that consumer expectations are going up in every industry except for the airlines. I got stuck in Charlotte yesterday for 4 hours before they canceled my flight. Didn't really help me. My bags still aren't here. And there's nothing I can do about it. Right? I guess I can tweet about it, but that's not good. But in every other industry, consumer expectations are going up. There was a study last year. 76% of consumers expect companies to deliver a personalized experience to them. That is really hard to do. To deliver a personalized consumer experience is very difficult. And the number on the right is on-demand service use. That's $53 billion. I don't want to go grocery shopping. I want to get my groceries on an app and have them delivered to my house. I don't want to go to the dry cleaner anymore. I just want somebody to come and pick up my clothes and bring it back. And I don't want to talk to anybody. I'm going to do it from my phone. Same thing with alcohol delivery, you name it. I want all of those services on demand, and I want them right now. And if the Wi-Fi goes out while I'm on vacation, I'm going to go nuclear. I came here to work at the beach, and I better be able to get online and do it. CJ, sit right over here. We had a conversation months back in Tennessee, and I love this quote, a 1-star review means one thing went wrong. Now, I'll tell you the rest of the context of the story, but I want that to sink in for a second. A 1-star review means one thing went wrong. These consumers, this is not my daughter. I've seen this face a ton of times, but that's actually not her. That means that your guests have a zero tolerance for anything going wrong. They show up and there's a hair in the tub, it's not good. You're playing catch up for the rest of the week to try and save that guest. And that's the end of the story. To CJ's credit, he uses that quote to his team and he says, that means we can still save that person. We want to know if one thing goes wrong early, we can turn that around. Maybe we can't turn it into a 5-star review, but we can turn it into a 4-star review. We can save that. We can save ourselves from that 1-star review. But the point remains, you got to work hard for it, and you have to have a system in place to make it happen. And that system. So your team, your property care team, your cleaners, your maintenance staff, your inspectors, the way you care for those properties to make sure that they're ready, it can be one of two things in this environment that I'm describing. It can be your superpower, because it's what you do so well that it differentiates you from your competition, and it's what your guests and your owners can feel, and it's part of your brand. Or it can be your liability, and it can be your downfall. It's a liability if you don't know what's going on in your properties. It's a liability if you're not really confident about their condition and the way you're maintaining them. It's a liability if you start losing owners. In my experience talking to managers, you don't lose owners because you have this minor fluctuation in rental income year over year. And if you do, it's probably not the owner you want to work with anyway. But you lose owners when they show up at their house and the lawn looks like it didn't get mowed recently. They walk in and their favorite item is out of place. The pictures aren't in the same spot that they always want them to be. And you know what they feel like? They feel one thing. And that's why they leave. They feel that you don't care about their property. And that's why they go and they try and find somebody else. When that happens, your property care program is turned into a liability for you. So, concept number 3. This making sense? Is this helpful? Interesting, at least? Dazzling? Probably not this. Concept number 3. Day 1. Jeff Bezos wrote this really famous shareholder letter in 1996 about how today was day 1 of the internet. It was sort of the dawn of this new technological age, and the reason he was writing it to shareholders because Amazon had been losing money for a long time, and he had no plans to start making money immediately. So he wanted everybody to know it's day 1 and it's going to take time. Everything is just started. But he also wanted everybody to know that we're going to continue to think like today is day 1. Because what happens on day 2 is you've become complacent and you've lost your edge and you've started your downfall into being irrelevant and then going out of business. So you have to continue to maintain that today is day 1. You have to embrace external trends. You have to experiment. And I just found this other quote of his, so I'm going to read it to you. It says, staying in day 1 requires you to experiment patiently, accept failures, plant seeds, protect saplings, and double down when you see consumer delight. A customer-obsessed culture best creates the conditions for all of this to happen. And that's exactly what he's done. He's been customer-centric and he's figured out how to create delightful experiences that consumers vote with their wallets. The pace of your work is increasing dramatically. Stays are getting shorter. You've got longer seasons. You talk to folks in Colorado. They used to really enjoy the summers in Vail. If you were in property management, it was time to take your foot off the gas, relax a little bit, go for a hike. Not anymore. Summers in Vail are just one long, big shoulder season now. And the more managers that I talk to in different locations, that's exactly what's happening. There's high season, and now there's these stretched out shoulder seasons, and there's not a lot of downtime. And that's an increasing trend. You talk to some managers in different markets in Florida, they'll tell you, if we'd rented X number of weeks in the past, our homeowners are happy. Now we need, we're almost doubling that just to maintain the business and keep up with everybody else. That's a lot more wear and tear on your properties. The average age of a home in the US is 35 years and going up. In the vacation rental world, it's tough to get stats on that, but I'm assuming it's a lot higher than that. And you have hands-on owners. They're not hands-on, they don't want to pick up a hammer. They want to pick up the phone. They want to talk to you. And they want to know, they want to talk to you unless you're trying to get a hold of them. We're going to talk about that in a second. They're very hands-on. They think they know what's going on with their properties. So with that as the backdrop, it becomes critical to work smarter. Let's just recap for a second, right? Super competitive marketing landscape, clawing for customers, compressed fees, operational complexity. You have to be efficient. If you're going to eke out the right margin in your business, you absolutely have to be efficient. You have to meet your standards, and you have to capture as much value as you can from that relationship. And you have to build relationships with your homeowners and your guests. We already talked about, prior sessions have focused a lot on guests and repeat guests. But you have to use every advantage. And this is the thing, and this is why I came back into this business. It sort of shocked me when I talked to property managers. I talked to them about their property care program, and I'd ask them how it goes, and they'd say, oh, it's like a dog with fleas. I don't know about my maintenance program. I don't know if I'm making money or I'm losing money. I'm making money on the commissions, but maintenance, I don't know. It's tough. And nobody's leveraging, there's a lack of standardization, leveraging data and intelligence to really drive your business. And it's going to be critical. So, how do you do that? How do you deal with pesky property owners? They're unique, they have unique needs. The properties are unique. They're very demanding. And like we talked about, they expect on-demand services. They're absent, they're not in market. And they're not around, so they are. And then when they are, you better be ready. And they may not answer when you're trying to get an answer from them about a new improvement you need to do to the property. But when they call you, they want answers. And their expectations are high, and like we talked about, they're shifting. They're really becoming, in another version of this presentation, I talk about what's happening in the primary home market with home services. But home services, and by that I mean, think about, I need an electrician, I need a plumber, I'm not my primary house, I need to get something fixed. There's billions of dollars being spent in the primary home services market. Angie's list was like the tip of the iceberg about what's happening in the home services market. And the big trend there is that much more on-demand concierge service. You don't need to go find a plumber or electrician. We're going to help you do it. We're going to make it easy. We're going to bring that person right to your house. That standard of interaction that your homeowners are starting to enjoy back in Atlanta or wherever their primary home is going to carry over into your business. What they're getting back home, they're going to expect that you can do for them here, which you have been for a long time. You just haven't really been showcasing the fact that you can do that. And that's what you need to do. So here I'll give you a couple of takeaways now that I've sort of spent some time setting the stage here and getting your attention. You are uniquely positioned in market. You have so many things going in your favor with this relationship and the market trends that are happening. The external trend is more concierge, a better experience. I want more property management, not less of it. Who can I rely on to get me that service? people in this room. But you have to make it count. You have to make every task that you're doing at that property count. You know more about your homeowners' properties than they do, absolutely. And you know more than you're getting credit for, because you're not using a system that helps you keep track of it. There are hundreds of details and data that you can collect every time you go into somebody's home. Every touch point that you have at one of your homes is an opportunity for you to demonstrate to that homeowner how well you're caring for their asset, which is the most valuable thing that they have, other than their primary home premise. You can demonstrate that care over and over and over again, much better than you are now. You can use all that property knowledge to your advantage and make them feel how much you care for it. And that's because you can share the details. Every manager that I talk to tells me that they don't have a good way to explain to their clients, to their homeowner clients, just how well they're caring for their property. They go into this is a common story, right? Property was cleaned, inspectors go through, they notice something's broken, they notice we need a new filter, maybe they replace something, happens in the course of business, doesn't get written down, just gets done because you want the property to be ready, and so you move on to the next thing. Maybe it doesn't rise to the level of a maintenance issue, it's not something you want to put on the bill, and so it gets lost in the shuffle. You just spent valuable time and resources on that property, and you have no credit for it. And your homeowner is never going to know you did it. You can't afford to do that. I would really encourage you not to do that anymore. Because what you need to do is delight and impress them. Standards are going up, remember? Consumer expectations are going up. If you don't keep up, somebody else in your market is going to. And you need to keep the team synchronized. This is really important. You need to give your staff the power to do their job really well. They're out there, they're the face of your company. They're the most important, they're the front lines, they're the most important people in your company. They're the ones that are actually responsible for putting your brand front and center to the guest that's coming in. You need to give them the power to actually accomplish that job. Help them do that. Help them meet your standards. Help them do that impossible task every Saturday of trying to get all those properties ready on such a tight time frame and making sure that nothing goes wrong. You're in this zero tolerance environment, remember? Nothing can go wrong. You got to help them. Make it easier for them to communicate back. Think about how they communicate issues back up to your staff. I was talking to someone's now client in Mississippi. We were talking about his inspection team and his cleaning team. And I said, well, how does your cleaning team tell you that there's a problem? He said, oh, that's not a problem. They just text the cleaning supervisor. And I said, so wait, he just sits around and gets a text message? He gets 400 text messages every Saturday? And he said, yeah. I said, wow. What happens when that doesn't work? What happens when something goes wrong? What happens when he has a day off? What happens when you can't, when that doesn't help you coordinate the next step of the project as easily as you could? It's very difficult. And that was really important here. The future of this business, in case anybody doesn't know, what's going on in routine, I guess I would say, property management, is a push towards much, much more operational efficiency. And by routine, I'm talking about the folks that own, 1,000 units, long-term tenants. They're in the envious position of having at least half of the operational challenges that you have, because their properties turn over once a year, and sometimes all 1,000 of those units have the exact same thing in them. Do you know what those folks are doing? Those folks are investing and doubling down on technology that can help them get their job done easier. They're thinking about using machine learning and artificial intelligence to drive faster and easier maintenance on those 1,000 units. And those units are the same. Think about how much harder it is what you have to do. You have to start to use data to drive that. And I think that's the really big opportunity here. So, this is my public service announcement that I think you should seize that opportunity. This is going to happen in this industry. There's nothing else that could happen. Which is why I came back and started a company in this space. Because as those expectations go up, your operational complexities are not going to dwindle. They're just going to get heavier and heavier. People are putting more and more stuff in their homes. There's more things to go wrong. So you need to seize the opportunity to take care of these properties and deliver more concierge services. You can turn your maintenance system into a profit center. I know it's controversial. People don't really believe me. That's okay. There's going to be a lot of smart managers, and it's going to happen in your market as well, that are doing really good maintenance-only services to the high-end homes, to the other 50% of the homeowners in your market that are not currently renting, and they're going to use a really good maintenance and care program to deliver an exceptional service to those homeowners and turn them into occasional renters. It's going to happen. And then, at the same time, there's going to be the really good maintenance companies that come in, and that's all they do. And they're going to start competing with you directly more and more. Sometimes they'll partner with you. You might outsource some services to them. Sometimes they're going to try and eat your lunch. So there's an opportunity here for inventory acquisition. I was just in Hilton Head last week giving a similar presentation. Really smart guy, used to be GM for Wyndham, oddly enough. He said now when he goes and he's talking to new property owners, I put him up here as 50-50 owners, he says he won't take a new homeowner unless they're at least 50% interested in the property care and asset protection services that he can offer them. If all they want is the income and that's the only thing they're bothered about, he doesn't want to work with them. He wants to work with homeowners that value the property care services that he can deliver. Because he knows it's operationally tough. He knows it's an expense that he has to do. And so he wants to work with homeowners that are going to value it. And I think that makes a lot of sense. And it goes without saying, right? Maybe it doesn't. That all of this that I'm talking about is your key to delighting guests as well. Amy asked me to focus on homeowners and owner acquisition and my feelings on that. But the fact of the matter is, it works on both sides of the coin here. You need this sort of a system to delight guests and make sure that things are well. So, what do I think can happen with really good property data? I think there's a lot that can happen in this sort of a business. You can be so much more efficient with your assignments. Every manager that I talk to, they're using a different system. Some are pretty creative, but they all share one thing in common. They're really sort of band-aided together. Sometimes it's a Google spreadsheet. Sometimes it's a text number that gets shared among multiple people. Sometimes it's a process where everybody has to come to the office and look at the board to see what their assignment is for Saturday because the process is so fluid that that's just how it works. But you can do way better than that. And I think your staff will appreciate it if you think about that. You'd be much better about the way you assign your cleanings, the way you assign maintenance, and how that work is done. I think everybody is just starting to scratch the surface of quality control and what's possible. Why do I say that? Because the software systems that you're using were not built to help you collect property data. They weren't built to help you build a really detailed inventory about each one of your properties. Now, some of them you can create, a lot of them, you can create custom fields, you can dump a whole bunch of information in there. But that information is only as good as it's structured. It's only as good as your back-end database. Sort of like Steve Milo was saying, like get your database in order if you're trying to sell the business or even just trying to be a great operator. Those systems weren't set up to handle really robust property inventory. Why is that so important? Because your homes are so unique they've got unique challenges. You're trying to be efficient about the way you clean and you inspect and you maintain them. You need to be reacting to each, you should be thinking about reacting to each one of those individual homes and building up an individualized program for each one of those properties. That's the only way you can really eke out every bit of efficiency, which is how you should be thinking about it. Once you've done that, then you can really start to manage your team better. You can understand how your team's working. And you can understand on an apples-to-apples basis because you know that they're using the same system. When that starts to happen, you can build in team incentives and really start to supercharge your program. Wow. Proactive maintenance. Wouldn't that be awesome? Be great. I know people don't believe me when I say this either, but I'm going to tell you it's true. People will tell you my homeowners don't really want that. They're happy that we're just reactionary. They're not going to pay for anything in advance. That is not true. That is just not true. That might be true with some of the dinosaurs that are still holding on to their properties. That is not going to be true in the future. That's just, there's a paradigm shift in the way that people value their time and what they expect from a service. And positioned correctly, once you've started to position to the homeowner how well you know their home, how well you care for it, you've turned the tables. Property management, especially in the property care context, can be slightly adversarial, right? You're trying to communicate with the homeowner, they need to fix something at their house. Do I really need to fix that? Can I get by for 5 more seasons without doing that? Are they just trying to eke out a few more maintenance service calls, charge me a little bit more money? When you're more transparent, you have a system and a way to share with those folks, and they can understand that you know exactly about their property and you're more qualified, that changes the conversation where your interests are much more aligned. You're saving a lot of time, you're avoiding disputes, and then you're earning the right for that proactive maintenance. Why is proactive maintenance so important? Wow, you can be so much more efficient when you can plan the maintenance in advance. When you're being reactionary, it gets really difficult because you're running around putting out fires. If you get your homeowners to buy into proactive maintenance programs, it can really change the dynamic for you. And it helps you manage liabilities. And lastly, on here, regulatory compliance. I think something else that's bound to happen in this industry, and this is anecdotal and just my opinion. I used to be a lawyer for a while though, so it comes from some basis in knowledge and reality. The property rights argument is a tough one on both sides. It's hard to argue that you shouldn't be able to rent your apartment or your property, and it's equally hard to not sympathize with the property owner who doesn't want somebody new there every week or every night, or the horrible stories that they'll tell. It's just really difficult from a regulatory standpoint to pick a side in that conversation. It's very difficult. But I'll tell you what is not difficult from a regulatory standpoint. It is not difficult to believe in a system where every property should be inspected regularly, every property should have really good maintenance records, every property should be able to produce when the last time the smoke alarms were inspected and the fire extinguishers were flipped out. And the good managers who are doing that already, that's going to be to your benefit. That's going to help take out the bad apples. It's going to help professionalize the industry even more. It's going to make you even more indispensable to your homeowners. And that sort of regulatory landscape, we're just sort of starting to see, because municipalities are really struggling on the property rights side of the business. But registration and then really good compliance, it's hard to argue that vacation rentals shouldn't just be safe. And it's hard for the hotel lobbies to punch holes in that. So, probably not surprisingly, I'm a philanthropist a little bit, but I'm not purely altruistic. I got back into this business not to waste my time. I got back into the vacation rental business because I think there is a huge opportunity in an unserved market to help you be better at this. And I got back into this business because the future of software is not, and I think everyone in this room would agree and is feeling this now, and also based on the slide I showed earlier, the future of software is not using one system that does everything for you. Vacation rental management is so multidisciplinary, it's impossible to have one system. Doug put up a slide when he had the CRM in the middle, he had an accounting system, he had a home management system, he had a guest system, he had one more over the other way, which I don't remember. Marketing.
There you go.
Thank you. At least one person was paying attention.
That's great.
Those aren't going to be the same system. And it's too much to ask, which is why this hasn't already developed in this industry yet, which is why these tools are just sort of coming online now. Because up until now, you've been using your main property management software system, which is really an accounting system. And then there's nothing wrong with that. It really is. That's what it's good at. That's what it was built for. It was built to help you keep track of reservations, make sure you got the accounting right, and move on to the next one. Put the guest in the right place. And what they did at the end, was it built software before, just like Doug. And what happens is you build your core product, and then you realize, oh, well, wait a second. We definitely need to handle maintenance. So let's slap on a maintenance module, and let's handle maintenance tickets. And we'll make those maintenance tickets run back to the property address. That ought to be good enough. And for a long time it was. And I'm here to tell you that's not going to be good enough in the future. Your maintenance items, they shouldn't just run to the property. They should run to the elements of the property. You should understand how you're caring for each one of those bedrooms, what's going on with that bathroom, when was the last time we replaced that hot water heater. Let me pull up those records. Let me make sure my whole team can leverage them so that they can be efficient, so that the inspectors and the maintenance people know exactly what's happening from the field, and they can get their job done. You move on to the next thing. Because we're not in the business of employing more people than we need, because it's expensive. And so I'll tell you 2 more minutes about this, and I'm happy to answer questions about marketing, because I know a decent amount about that, or about operations. I just might not answer all of Steve's questions, because he's an expert. He knows a lot more than I do. But quickly, I think whether it's, and this is the truth of it, whether or not you're using Breezeway or you're using another system, or you're evaluating your property management software system, because a lot of them have gotten smarter about the way they handle this, and they're starting to build some tools as well, truth be told. Whichever one you're using, these are the things that I think you should take a quick look at and make sure that you can get out of the system. You need to be really good. It needs to be very, very good at scheduling. I have a newfound appreciation about this over the last 2 years. Scheduling in vacation rental management is very unique. There's last-minute adjustments to reservations that need to be handled. You can't just put your default cleaners on every property, because what's going to happen? This person over here is going to be totally overloaded on Saturday. This person's not going to have enough to do to come into work and justify coming in and getting paid only for one cleaning. So the scheduling system needs to be very dynamic. You need to be able to do things like draft schedule. Yeah, I've got my people that usually clean. These are the people that are typically on the property, but I don't want to assign them all. I want to look at it first, and I want to make some adjustments. That would be nice. I'd like to know while I'm looking at the schedule and the dashboard, where is everybody in the course of their day? It's 10 a.m. Has everybody started? It's noon. Which teams are behind? Who needs to be adjusted before 1 p.m. so we can actually get this done today? Those are the sorts of things I think you should look for. You should look for workflows where you can daisy chain tasks together, where a cleaning crew and an inspection team or an inspector can communicate with each other on the task, where nothing gets lost. Communication shouldn't go off platform. It should all be captured in the same platform. If you've got multiple people on a team working on the same property on the same day, they should be able to talk to each other in a way that it's all seamlessly collected, that your supervisors and your admins can take a look at. You should leverage GPS tracking. I learned this when I was in Gatlinburg. I don't know if this pertains here as well. But if you're in Gatlinburg and your maintenance team goes to one side of town, that's where they need to stay the entire day. They can't come back through town because you lose too much time. So you need to know where everybody is so you can assign the next task smartly. You need to know where they are in the course of the task and then where they're going for the next one. And by the way, you've got some seasonal people, help them understand where they need to go. Whatever tools you're using should help them get directions to the property right within the same system. Actionable data. This is really important. I think this is one of the bigger things. It's the thing that we focused on the most, but everybody else is going to do it too. I'm convinced. It's one thing to collect data. It's another thing to make that data actionable. To make it actionable, it's got to be available to people consistently. They need to be able to get their hands on it. And most importantly, it's got to be structured. It's not good enough, in my opinion, to do digital inspections. That's a nice start. It's better than using paper. You've got some records, easier to share. But if you really want to be good at this, that digital inspection should be comprised of structured information so that while you're doing that, you're building up property inventory. You're saving information. You can call that bedroom whatever you want, but you know it's a bedroom. You know it's got a TV, so that you know the next time somebody goes through, they better make sure the remote is next to the TV, because that's going to save you a guest call later. It's going to save them some heartache of trying to figure out where it is. And as soon as it's available and it's shared to people, it becomes so much more valuable. You can do so much more with it. Quality control, I'll just sort of sum this up, but I think there's a fine line between using checklists and being a little too heavy-handed with your team and using checklists to drive quality control. We help our clients, we sort of consult them to find that happy medium. It also depends on your role. We've got some clients who now in California for hot tub maintenance, they'll make sure every time a hot tub maintenance happens, they have to follow this quick 3-point checklist. Just to remember that they did these things. And second of all, just to provide a record for their own liability. Now they know they've got a record and they've got a picture of that hot tub cleaning every time they just did it. It didn't take any longer to do the same task, but they built up that record and they built up that information, and they know exactly what it looked like when that person left. Could be used for deep cleans halfway through the season. Could be used as a training tool. This is a great idea. When it comes to cleaners, we have some companies that do this. They don't do a really heavy-handed cleaning checklist, but what they'll do is they'll say, oh, I don't know, Brad isn't so good at his refrigerator cleanings lately, so I'm going to ask him to take a picture of the fridge just once in a while, just to keep him on his toes, just so he knows that this is one thing he's got to work on, and then I'm going to stop asking him to do that. Maybe there's somebody else, maybe you're using that in the context of a homeowner. This is where it becomes really interesting. You know your homeowner's touch points. You build in special requirements on your regular routine tasks to make sure that one little thing that really ticks off your homeowner never gets missed. It's not that hard to do. You can use technology to help you do that. And then lastly, you can demonstrate the value of that service. I think this is something that's really underserved. I don't expect your homeowners are going to want to look at their inspection report every week in the summer. They might not ever look at it. They might not ever look at the report of their last maintenance task, but just the fact that they're getting it. I was in Charleston last week. I've been traveling a lot lately, actually. And I had a manager say, no, it's okay. We send our monthly statements. We communicate with our owners. That is not owner communication. That's a bill. Owner communication and trying to let your owners know how much you care for their property is telling them how much you care for their property. It's showing them. It's not sending them a bill. That doesn't cut it. It's like the story of the dog walker. If you live in Boston or Charleston, and your wife is out to lunch. I actually don't have a dog. This isn't a true story. But you know, and she's talking to one of her friends, and she's telling them how the dog walker takes a picture of the dog on the walk and leaves a little note. If the other person who's hearing that story, if their dog walker doesn't do that, you know what they're doing the next day? They're getting a new dog walker. Because that is all of a sudden the level of customer service that they expect. And the same thing is happening in property management. People are doubling down on the way they communicate with homeowners, and everybody's going to have to keep pace. That's it for me. Thank you for spending some time with us. I don't even know if I'm over or under on time. But I'm happy to answer some questions about the industry, about Steve Milo's take on TripAdvisor. I think he's mostly right about anything else. All right, thanks a lot.